Dr. Elena Brightwood ran through the cold metal halls of the research station. Her breath came out in white clouds as the heating systems failed one by one. The emergency lights flashed red, casting strange shadows on the walls. She had to find her daughter Maya before it was too late. "Maya," she called out, her voice echoing in the empty corridors. "Maya, where are you?" The 8-year-old girl had been playing in the lower levels when the evacuation alarm started. Elena had been in the main lab, working on her latest research about the strange plants that grew in the moon's ice caves. When the alarms began screaming, she dropped everything and ran to find her daughter. But Maya was nowhere to be found. The Stellar Mining Consortium had given everyone just 30 minutes to get to the ships. They said the moon's core was becoming unstable. They said the geothermal systems that kept the station warm would fail soon. They said everyone had to leave right now or die. Elena reached the lower level and found it blocked by fallen rocks. A small cave-in had sealed the area where Maya liked to play. She clawed at the rocks with her bare hands, cutting her fingers on the sharp edges. "Help me!" she screamed into her radio. "My daughter is trapped down here." The voice that came back was cold and businesslike. It belonged to Communications Officer Lisa Park. "Dr. Brightwood, you need to get to the evacuation ships now. We're leaving in 10 minutes. I can't leave without Maya." "The child is not on the evacuation list," Lisa said. "She must have already been evacuated with the first group." Elena knew this was a lie. She had checked every ship. She had asked everyone. No one had seen Maya leave the station. The little girl was still trapped somewhere in the lower levels, probably scared and alone in the dark. "Please," Elena begged. "Just give me more time. I can dig through these rocks. I can find her." "Negative. All personnel must board immediately." Elena kept digging. The rocks were heavy and her hands were bleeding, but she would not give up. Behind her, she heard heavy footsteps. Security Chief Amanda Brooks appeared with 2 guards. "Dr. Brightwood, you're coming with us," Amanda said. "I won't leave my daughter." "The child is already dead," Amanda said coldly. "The life support scanners show no signs of life in that section. You staying here won't change anything," Elena stared at her in horror. "You haven't even tried to check. Those scanners could be wrong." Amanda grabbed Elena's arm. "The company has procedures. We don't risk the lives of adults for one child who is probably already frozen." The guards dragged Elena away from the rocks. She fought and screamed, but they were stronger. They carried her to the evacuation ship like she was just another piece of cargo. As the ship lifted off from the moon's surface, Elena pressed her face against the small window. She could see the research station getting smaller below them. Somewhere, in that dark building, her little Maya was waiting for Mommy to come back. But Mommy was being taken away. Director Karen Walsh was waiting in the ship's main cabin. She was a tall woman with gray hair and cold eyes. She looked at Elena like she was looking at a broken machine. "I'm sorry for your loss, Dr. Brightwood," Karen said. But her voice had no real sadness in it. "These mining accidents happen sometimes. The company will pay you compensation for your daughter." "Compensation?" Elena could not believe what she was hearing. "You're talking about money? My daughter might still be alive down there." "The moon's core is unstable," Karen replied. "The whole place will be frozen solid in a few hours. Even if the child survived the cave-in, she won't survive the cold." Elena grabbed the director's arm. "Then we have to go back. We have to try." Karen pulled her arm away. "The company doesn't risk expensive ships and trained personnel for lost causes. That's basic business sense." "She's not a lost cause. She's my daughter. She's a casualty," Karen said firmly. "Now sit down and be quiet. We have a long journey ahead of us." Elena sank into a chair, her whole body shaking. Through the window, she watched the moon disappear into the black of space. Maya was down there, alone and scared. Maybe she was calling for her mother. Maybe she was wondering why no one came to help her. Later, Elena would find out the truth. She would learn that the emergency was not really an emergency. The mining company had been doing illegal drilling that made the moon's core unstable. They needed to evacuate quickly before government inspectors arrived. They needed to make it look like a natural disaster, not corporate negligence. She would learn that Lisa Park had deleted Maya's location from the computer systems. The woman had seen the child's life signs in the lower levels, but she erased them from the records. She did not want to delay the evacuation for one small girl. She would learn that the security team had known exactly where Maya was trapped. They had equipment that could have moved the rocks in minutes. But Amanda Brooks had decided it was not worth the time and effort. She would learn that Director Karen Walsh had personally ordered everyone to ignore the trapped child. The woman had looked at the rescue costs and decided that paying death benefits was cheaper than saving a life. But Elena did not know these things yet. Right now, she only knew that her baby was alone on a frozen moon, and no one cared enough to save her. The ship jumped into hyperspace, leaving Maya behind in the cold and the dark. Elena closed her eyes and wept. She did not know that her tears would soon be answered with fire and blood. She did not know that Maya's father was about to learn what had happened to his daughter. She did not know that the stars themselves would burn for what these people had done. Back on the moon, in the depths of the research station, a small girl sat in an emergency shelter. Maya Brightwood was cold and scared, but she was alive. The little elf child had found the emergency supplies and activated the backup heater. She had food for a few days and water from the melted ice. She kept waiting for her mother to come back. She kept believing that someone would save her. She did not know that the rescue ships were already gone. She did not know that the adults had decided she was not worth saving. She did not know that her life had been thrown away like garbage. Maya sat in the dark and hummed the lullaby her mother used to sing. She told herself that everything would be okay. She told herself that Daddy would come for her soon. She was right about one thing. Daddy was coming, but not in time to save her. The message reached Commander Theron Brightwood 3 days later. He was sitting in a bar on New Cascadia, a frontier world at the edge of human space. The bar was dark and smoky, filled with miners and traders who asked no questions. Theron liked places like this. They reminded him of the old days when he was still human. His communication device buzzed softly. He looked at the screen and saw Elena's face. His ex-wife looked terrible. Her eyes were red from crying and her face was pale with grief. "Theron," she said in the recorded message. "Something terrible has happened. Maya is gone." Theron's hand stopped moving toward his drink. The glass sat untouched on the dirty table. "The mining company left her behind," Elena continued. "They said it was an accident, but I know they're lying. They could have saved her, but they chose not to. They left our daughter to die alone on that frozen moon." The glass in Theron's hand cracked. He had not realized he was squeezing it. "I don't know what to do," Elena whispered. "I don't know how to make them pay for what they did. But I know you do. I know what you used to be, what you still are." The message ended. Theron sat in the dark bar staring at the blank screen. Around him, people laughed and talked and lived their normal lives. They had no idea that something inside him had just broken forever. Maya was dead. His little star was gone. Theron had not been a good father. He had tried to leave his old life behind when Maya was born, but it was hard. He was made for war and violence, not for changing diapers and reading bedtime stories. Elena had divorced him when Maya was 5, saying she could not live with a man who was more weapon than human. But Maya had never stopped loving him. She called him every week on the communication system. She drew him pictures of spaceships and aliens. She told him about her friends at the research station and the ice caves she liked to explore. Now she was gone, and it was not an accident. Theron stood up slowly. The other people in the bar moved away from him without knowing why. Something dangerous had awakened and their animal instincts told them to run. He walked out into the cold night air of New Cascadia. Above him, the stars looked down like distant eyes. Maya had loved the stars. She used to say they were holes in the sky where the light of heaven shone through. Now the stars would know justice. Theron activated his communication system and sent out a coded message. It went to old contacts across the galaxy, people who owed him favors from the war days. Within hours, he began getting responses. The first came from Betty Grant, a former intelligence officer who now ran a small shipping company. "Whatever you need, Commander, just say the word." The second came from Maria Santos, a weapons dealer who worked in the gray areas between legal and illegal. "I heard about your daughter. I'm sorry. Tell me who needs to die." More messages came in throughout the night. Hackers, assassins, soldiers, and spies. All of them remembered what Theron had done during the war. All of them were ready to help him do it again. But first, Theron needed information. He went to his small apartment and opened a hidden panel in the wall. Inside was equipment that officially did not exist. Computer cores that could break into any system. Communication devices that could reach across the galaxy without being traced. Weapons that could kill in ways human science could not explain. Theron had been human once during the early days of the war between Earth and the Elven worlds. But human soldiers were not strong enough or fast enough to fight the ancient elves. So the military had created a special program. They took their best soldiers and changed them, mixing human technology with captured elven biotech. The process had made Theron stronger, faster, and smarter than any normal human. It had also given him centuries of life instead of decades. But the cost was high. The changes made it hard for him to connect with normal people. He became something between human and elf, belonging fully to neither side. After the war ended, most of the enhanced soldiers had died or gone insane. Only a few, like Theron, had managed to find some kind of peace. He had tried to build a normal life with Elena, but it never really worked. He was too different, too dangerous. Now Maya was dead, and the dangerous part of him was waking up. Theron's first step was to learn everything about the Stellar Mining Consortium. He broke into their computer systems like they were made of paper. His enhanced mind processed information faster than any human computer, and the elven biotech in his brain could think in ways that human security could not predict. What he found made his blood turn cold. The evacuation had been planned weeks in advance. The company knew their illegal drilling would destabilize the moon. They had prepared to abandon the research station and blame it on natural causes. The only thing they had not planned for was leaving witnesses behind. Maya had been listed as acceptable losses in their evacuation planning documents. Theron read through the communications between the company executives. Director Karen Walsh had written, "The half-breed child is not essential personnel. If she becomes a problem during evacuation, standard protocols apply." Communications Officer Lisa Park had replied, "Understood. We'll handle as needed." Security Chief Amanda Brooks had added, "Confirmed. No unnecessary delays for non-human dependents." They had planned to leave Maya behind from the beginning. Her mixed elven heritage made her less important to them than a full human child would have been. She was disposable. Theron's hands shook as he read the files. These people had murdered his daughter as casually as someone might swat a fly. They had not even seen her as a real person. He began making lists. Names, addresses, family members, business interests, personal habits. Every person who had played a role in Maya's death would pay. But it would not be quick or merciful. Theron remembered Maya's last video call to him. She had been excited about finding some new crystals in the ice caves. She had held them up to the camera, her young face bright with joy. "Look, Daddy," she had said. "They're pretty like stars." Now his little star was frozen and alone, and the people responsible were living comfortable lives, probably already forgetting what they had done. But Theron would not forget. He would never forget. He sent out his first orders to his network of contacts. They would begin with surveillance and intelligence gathering, learn the target's routines, their weaknesses, their fears, map out their entire lives so that when the time came, there would be no escape. The war was beginning again. But this time it was not between humans and elves. This time, it was between a father and the people who had killed his child. Theron looked out his window at the stars one more time. Somewhere out there, Maya's body was growing cold in the darkness of a dead moon, but her spirit would be avenged. The stars would burn for what they had done, and Theron Brightwood would be the one to light the fire. Director Karen Walsh was having lunch on her private yacht when she died. The ship was called Golden Dream, and it cost more money than most people would see in their entire lives. Karen liked to eat her meals on the observation deck, watching the stars while she planned new ways to make the company more profitable. She was cutting into an expensive steak when the navigation system started making strange noises. "Computer," she said, not looking up from her food. "What's that sound?" "Navigation malfunction detected," the ship's artificial intelligence replied in its calm voice. "Course correction in progress." Karen frowned and looked at the control screen. The ship was turning toward a nearby star. The yellow sun was getting bigger in the viewing window. "Computer, correct course immediately. Unable to comply. Navigation systems are locked." Now Karen was worried. She pressed the emergency communication button to call for help. Nothing happened. The communication system was dead. She ran to the manual controls and tried to turn the ship away from the star. The controls would not respond. The ship kept flying, straight toward the burning sun. "Computer, override navigation lock. Emergency protocol 77 Alpha. Override codes not recognized," the computer said. Its voice sounded different now, almost amused. Karen realized she was going to die. She ran around the small ship, trying everything she could think of. The escape pods were locked. The emergency systems were offline. Even the life support was beginning to fail. As the ship got closer to the star, the temperature began to rise. Karen's expensive clothes stuck to her skin with sweat. The viewing windows started to crack from the heat. In her final moments, she found a message waiting on her personal computer. It was a drawing made by a child's hand, a simple picture of a star with a smiling face. At the bottom, someone had written in child's letters, "For Daddy, love, Maya." Karen Walsh screamed as her ship burned up in the star's atmosphere, but there was no one left to hear her. 3 days later, Communications Officer Lisa Park woke up in her luxury apartment on New Geneva. She lived on the top floor of the tallest building in the city, with windows that looked out over the entire planet. She walked to her kitchen to make coffee, but the machine would not work. The power was out. That was strange. Her apartment had backup power that never failed. Lisa tried to call building maintenance, but her communication device was dead. She tried her computer, but it would not turn on. Even her personal tablet was broken. She walked to the window to see if the power was out in the whole city. The city lights were still on. Only her apartment was dark. Then she noticed something else. The air felt wrong. Thick and hard to breathe. Lisa ran to the air recycling controls, but they were offline. The atmospheric processors that kept her apartment livable had stopped working. The air was slowly running out. She tried to open the door to leave the apartment, but it was locked. The electronic locks would not respond without power. She was trapped in her own home. Lisa pounded on the door and screamed for help. Her neighbors must have heard her, but no one came. When she looked at the door's display screen, she understood why. The screen showed that her apartment was listed as unoccupied in the building's system. According to the computers, no one lived here. Lisa Park had been erased. She ran back to the windows and tried to break them, but they were made of reinforced, transparent aluminum. Her hands bled as she beat against the unbreakable glass. The air grew thinner and thinner. Lisa's lungs burned as she gasped for breath. She collapsed on the floor, watching the city lights through the windows. So close to help, but completely cut off from the world. She died slowly, just like Maya had died slowly in the cold. Security Chief Amanda Brooks was visiting her elderly mother when her turn came. Amanda lived a careful life. She knew that her job at the mining company had made her enemies. She traveled with bodyguards and lived in a secure building. But her mother was her weakness, and somehow someone had found out about it. The old woman lived in a small house on Earth, in the city where Amanda had grown up. It was the one place where Amanda let her guard down. She dismissed her bodyguards when she visited her mother, not wanting to frighten the old lady. Amanda was making tea in her mother's kitchen when she heard a soft sound behind her. She turned around, expecting to see her mother, but the kitchen was empty. On the table was an envelope with her name written on it. Inside was a bank statement showing that all of her money was gone. Her accounts had been emptied. Her savings, her retirement fund, her investment portfolio, everything was zero. There was also a new identity card with her picture on it. But the name was wrong. According to this card, she was Sarah Nobody, age unknown, with no family, no job, and no legal existence. Amanda tried to call her bank, but when she gave them her account numbers, they told her no such accounts existed. She tried to call her office, but they said no one named Amanda Brooks worked for the company. She tried to call her bodyguards, but their communication devices said her number was not in service. In the space of 1 hour, Amanda Brooks had been erased from existence. She had no money, no identity, and no way to prove who she really was. She ran outside to find a police officer, but when she tried to explain what had happened, they treated her like a crazy person. The identification scanner said she was Sarah Nobody, a homeless woman with mental health problems. They took her to a shelter for people with no homes and no families. Amanda tried to convince them that she was really a corporate security chief, but she had no proof. Her fingerprints came back as unknown in the system. Her genetic scan showed no matches in any database. Amanda Brooks had become a ghost, alive but invisible to the world. While this was happening, other people connected to Maya's death began to have problems too. The backup pilot who had helped with the evacuation found his flying license canceled for safety violations that did not exist. The maintenance worker who had sealed the lower levels found himself accused of crimes he had never committed. The medical officer who had declared Maya dead without checking found his medical degree revoked. One by one, everyone who had played a part in Maya's abandonment discovered that their comfortable lives were falling apart. But the mysterious attacker was not finished with simple revenge. Theron Brightwood had bigger plans. The Stellar Mining Consortium began to suffer accidents across all their operations. Mining equipment broke down in ways that made no sense. Computer systems developed glitches that cost millions of credits. Shipments were lost or delayed by navigation errors. The company's stock price started to fall as investors lost confidence. Other corporations began to avoid doing business with them, fearing that the bad luck might spread. Insurance companies raised their rates, saying the consortium had become too risky to cover at normal prices. Admiral Claire Santos of the Terran Defense Force was the first person to realize that all these problems were connected. She was a smart woman who had spent her career fighting pirates and terrorists. She knew the difference between bad luck and an enemy attack. Claire gathered her best investigators and began looking for patterns. What she found frightened her. Every person who had been involved in the Keto 7 evacuation was either dead, missing, or had their life destroyed. Every company facility was experiencing mysterious technical problems. The attacks were too coordinated and too precise to be random. Someone was waging war against the Stellar Mining Consortium, and they were winning. "This isn't terrorism," Claire told her staff during a security briefing. "This is systematic destruction. Whoever is doing this has resources and skills that go far beyond anything we've seen before." Her intelligence officer, Captain Nicole Hayes, pulled up a holographic display showing the attack patterns. "Admiral, look at these dates. Every incident happened exactly 72 hours apart. And look at the methods. Some of this technology shouldn't exist." Claire studied the data. "What do you mean?" "The navigation hack on Director Walsh's yacht required quantum-level access to the ship's computer core. That's military-grade technology. The identity erasure of Security Chief Brooks rewrote records in 17 different government databases simultaneously. And the atmospheric failure in Communications Officer Park's apartment was done without leaving any physical evidence." Claire felt a cold chill run down her spine. "You're saying this is the work of someone with advanced military training?" "More than that," Nicole replied. "I think we're dealing with someone from the enhancement program." The enhancement program had been one of the military's darkest secrets during the war with the Elven worlds. They had taken their best soldiers and changed them using captured alien technology. The enhanced soldiers had been nearly unstoppable in combat, but most of them had died or gone insane after the war ended. If one of them had survived and gone rogue, it would explain everything. Claire activated the emergency communication system that connected her directly to Earth Command. "This is Admiral Santos. I need to speak with the Directorate immediately. We have a Code Black situation." Code Black meant an enhanced soldier had gone rogue. It was every military commander's worst nightmare. In his hidden base on New Cascadia, Theron Brightwood monitored the military communications with satisfaction. They were beginning to understand what they were facing, but it was too late to stop him. Captain Nicole Hayes stood on the bridge of the battlecruiser USS Valkyrie, studying the tactical display. 3 weeks had passed since Admiral Santos had declared Code Black, and they were no closer to catching their target. "Any new leads?" she asked her intelligence officer, Lieutenant Jenny Morris. Jenny shook her head. "Whoever this is, they're like a ghost. Every time we think we've found a trail, it disappears. The attacks continue, but we can never predict where they'll strike next." The Stellar Mining Consortium was dying. Half their facilities had been destroyed or abandoned. Their remaining executives lived in terror, moving from safe house to safe house. The company's stock was worthless, and their insurance companies had canceled all policies. But the attacks were getting worse. What had started as personal revenge was becoming something much bigger. Nicole looked at the latest reports. "He hit the New Geneva orbital shipyard last night." "Completely destroyed," Jenny confirmed. 2,000 workers barely escaped. The saboteur somehow turned the shipyard's own construction lasers against the structure. The whole thing collapsed in on itself. "Any casualties?" "Surprisingly, no. It's like he wanted to destroy the facility but not kill innocent people. The attack happened during the night shift when only a skeleton crew was present, and they all received anonymous warnings to evacuate exactly 30 minutes before the lasers activated." Nicole frowned. That was part of the pattern that troubled her. Their target was incredibly ruthless with his primary enemies, but he seemed to go out of his way to avoid killing innocent workers and civilians. It suggested someone with a military background and a strict moral code. "What about the data theft?" Nicole asked. "That's the really scary part," Jenny replied. "He didn't just destroy the shipyard. He also downloaded every classified file in their computers. Ship designs, military contracts, personnel records, everything." Nicole felt a chill. If an enhanced soldier had access to military ship designs, he could do far more damage than anyone had imagined. Her communication device buzzed. It was Admiral Santos calling from the Fleet Command Center. "Captain Hayes." The Admiral's voice was tense. "We have a new development. The target has sent us a message." "A message? How?" "He hijacked every communications satellite in the Terran defense grid simultaneously. The message went out to every military base, every government facility, and every news station in human space." Nicole's blood went cold. Hijacking the entire communication grid should have been impossible. The security systems were designed by the best human engineers and protected by quantum encryption. What did the message say? "See for yourself." The main display screen activated, showing a figure in shadow. The person's face was hidden, but his voice was clear and calm. "People of human space," the figure said. "My name is Theron Brightwood. Some of you may remember me from the war. I am here to tell you about the murder of my daughter Maya Brightwood, age 8. The image changed to show Maya's picture. A sweet little girl with pointed ears and bright eyes. Half human, half elf, smiling at the camera. Maya was killed by the Stellar Mining Consortium. Theron continued. Not by accident, but by deliberate choice. They left her to die alone on a frozen moon because they decided her life was worth less than their profit margins. Documents appeared on the screen. Internal company communications, evacuation plans, financial records, everything that proved the consortium had planned to abandon Maya from the beginning. "I have tried to seek justice through legal channels," Theron said. "The courts refused to hear the case. The government called it an unfortunate accident. The media ignored the story because it was bad for business relations." Nicole realized she was holding her breath. Every person in human space was watching this broadcast. "So I will deliver justice myself." Theron's voice became harder. "Every person who participated in my daughter's murder will pay. Every company, that profits from the exploitation of non-human lives will burn. Every government that treats alien children as disposable will fall. The image changed again, showing a map of human space with red dots marking dozens of star systems. I am no longer just seeking revenge for Maya, Theron said. I am seeking justice for every non-human child who has been abandoned, exploited, or murdered by human expansion. The age of human dominance is ending. The stars will belong to those who deserve them. The broadcast ended with Maya's drawing, the simple picture of a star with a smiling face. Nicole stared at the blank screen. Admiral, this changes everything. He's not just targeting the mining consortium anymore. He's declaring war on all of human space. I know, Admiral Santos replied. Emergency sessions are being called on every inhabited world. The President is meeting with the Joint Chiefs right now. This Theron Brightwood has just become the most wanted person in the galaxy. What do we know about him? We're pulling his classified files now. But Captain, I'm warning you, what you're about to learn is going to be disturbing. An hour later, Nicole sat in her private quarters reading Theron Brightwood's military record. Her hands shook as she turned the pages. Commander Theron Brightwood had been one of the first volunteers for the enhancement program. The procedure had taken him 6 months of surgery and genetic modification. When it was over, he was no longer entirely human. His combat record was incredible and terrifying. Single-handedly destroyed an entire elven fleet, infiltrated an enemy command center and assassinated 12 high-ranking officers in one night, led a strike team that captured an alien weapons facility that had been considered impregnable. But the most disturbing part was what happened after the war. Most enhanced soldiers had suffered psychological breakdowns. The changes to their bodies and minds were too extreme for human consciousness to handle. They became violent, paranoid, or completely insane. Theron had been different. He had managed to retain his sanity and even tried to build a normal life. He had married Dr. Elena Brightwood, a xenobiologist who worked for the mining consortium. They had a daughter together, Maya. But the marriage had failed. Elena's divorce papers mentioned irreconcilable differences due to fundamental incompatibility. Nicole understood what that really meant. Living with an enhanced soldier was like living with a dangerous weapon that might go off at any moment. Now that weapon had been aimed at human civilization. Nicole's communication device buzzed again. This time it was Lieutenant Morris calling, from the intelligence center. Captain, you need to see this. We've been monitoring communications across the galaxy, and something big is happening. Nicole hurried to the intelligence center. The main screen showed a map of human space with communication traffic flowing like rivers of light between the stars. What am I looking at? Nicole asked. Encrypted messages, Morris replied. Thousands of them, all using military-grade encryption from the enhancement program. We can't read them, but we can track where they're going. Nicole studied the pattern. The messages were going to dozens of different star systems, reaching contacts in every major human territory. He's activating a network, she realized. Other, enhanced soldiers, other veterans from black operations. He's calling in old favors and building an army. That's not the worst part, Morris said. Look at this. The screen changed to show financial records. Money was moving through hidden accounts, across the galaxy. Massive amounts of credits were being transferred to weapons dealers, smugglers, and mercenary groups. He's been planning this for years, Nicole said. Maybe since the day his daughter was born. He's been building resources, making contacts, preparing for a war that might never come. Until they killed his daughter, Morris finished. Nicole felt a growing sense of dread. If Theron had been preparing for years, then the attacks they had seen so far were just the beginning. The real war was about to start. Her thoughts were interrupted by an urgent alert from the ship's sensors. Something large was approaching the Valkyrie at high speed. Captain, to the bridge, came the voice over the ship's communication system. Unknown vessel approaching. It's not responding to our hails. Nicole ran to the bridge, where her officers were staring at their screens in confusion. Report, she ordered. Single ship moving at impossible speed, her tactical officer replied. No identification transponder. No energy signature that matches any known ship design. Size? Small. Maybe a single-person fighter. But Captain, it's moving faster than anything we've ever seen, and it's heading straight for us. Nicole watched the approaching dot on the screen. Battle stations, raise shields, all weapons armed. Captain, her communications officer interrupted. We're receiving a transmission from the unknown ship. Put it through. The main screen activated, showing a figure in dark armor. The face was hidden behind a helmet, but Nicole knew who it was. Captain Hayes, Theron Brightwood said. I know you've been hunting me. I wanted to give you a chance to surrender before I destroy your ship. Nicole felt her heart racing. You're surrounded by the entire Terran defense fleet. You're outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Numbers don't matter when you have the right technology, Theron replied. The elves taught me many things during the war, including how to turn human technology against itself. What do you want? The battle for Keto 7 began at dawn, if dawn had any meaning in the darkness of space. Admiral Claire Santos led the largest fleet in Terran Defense Force history toward the frozen moon where everything had started. 200 ships surrounded the small world, their weapons aimed at the research station where Theron Brightwood waited. But Claire knew this was not going to be a normal battle. Her enemy was not hiding in the ruins of the station. He had turned the entire moon into a weapon. Admiral, Captain Nicole Hayes reported from the USS Valkyrie. Long-range sensors are picking up massive energy readings from the moon's core. Whatever he's done down there, it's building toward something big. Claire studied the tactical display. The moon looked peaceful from space, just a ball of ice and rock. But beneath the surface, the unstable core that the mining consortium had created was being manipulated by technology that should not exist. How long do we have? Claire asked. Unknown, Nicole replied. But the energy buildup is accelerating. If he triggers a full core collapse, the explosion will destroy everything in this star system, including the human colony on Ketos Prime. 2 million innocent people lived on the nearby planet. Theron Brightwood was holding them hostage to make his final point. Claire opened a communication channel to the moon's surface. Theron Brightwood, this is Admiral Santos. I know you can hear me. Let's talk. The response came immediately. Broadcast to every ship in the fleet. Admiral Santos. Theron's voice was calm and cold. You're too late. The reckoning has already begun. Those people on Ketos Prime have nothing to do with your daughter's death. Don't make them pay for other people's crimes. Innocent people? Theron laughed, but there was no humor in it. Tell me, Admiral, how many innocent non-human children have died because of human expansion? How many alien families have been destroyed? By corporate greed? Claire felt the weight of history in his words. She knew he was right. Humanity's spread across the galaxy had not been peaceful. There had been exploitation, abandonment, and worse. That doesn't justify genocide, she said. Doesn't it? Theron replied. Maya was 8 years old. She liked to draw pictures of stars and sing lullabies to her stuffed animals. She never hurt anyone. She never threatened human expansion or corporate profits. And they left her to die alone in the dark because she was half-elven. The communication channel crackled with interference as the moon's energy readings spiked higher. I found her body, Admiral, Theron continued. Do you want to know how she died? Claire's throat went dry. Theron. She lived for 12 days after the evacuation. 12 days alone in that emergency shelter, waiting for someone to come save her. She wrote messages on the walls with her crayons. Mommy, where are you? Daddy, I'm scared. Please come back for me. Every person in the fleet could hear the transmission. Claire saw some of her officers wiping tears from their eyes. On the 10th day, she drew one last picture, Theron said. A star with a sad face because she finally understood that no one was coming. She died holding her stuffed rabbit, still believing that her parents loved her enough to find her. Claire closed her eyes. I'm sorry. What happened to Maya was wrong. But this won't bring her back. No, Theron agreed. But it will make sure no other child dies the way she did. The energy readings from the moon suddenly jumped to critical levels. Every ship in the fleet activated emergency shields. All ships, prepare for immediate evacuation of Ketos Prime, Claire ordered. But even as she said it, she knew there was not enough time. It would take hours to evacuate 2 million people. Admiral, Nicole's voice was urgent. I'm reading multiple energy signatures on the moon's surface. He's not alone down there. What do you mean? Enhanced soldiers, at least a dozen of them. They're powering up some kind of device network across the moon's surface. Claire realized the scope of Theron's plan. He had not just been preparing for months. He had been recruiting other enhanced soldiers, other veterans who felt betrayed by the peace they had helped to win. This is bigger than revenge for one child, she whispered. Admiral, her communications officer interrupted. We're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's Dr. Elena Brightwood. The main screen activated, showing Elena in what looked like the ruins of the research station. She was standing next to a memorial wall covered with Maya's drawings. Admiral Santos, Elena said. I'm here with Theron. I want you to know that I support what he's doing. Claire was shocked. Dr. Brightwood, you're a scientist. You know that destroying this system won't solve anything, won't it? Elena's eyes were hard with grief and anger. Do you know what I found when I investigated Maya's death? The mining consortium had a policy, official corporate policy, that non-human dependents were acceptable losses during emergency evacuations. She held up a document. This is from their training manual, page 47. When time and resources are limited, priority must be given to essential human personnel. Non-human family members may be left behind if their rescue would endanger the mission. Claire felt sick. That's not official government policy. No, Elena agreed. But it's how the corporations operate in the frontier territories. They know the government won't investigate too closely as long as the raw materials keep flowing back to Earth. Elena walked closer to the camera. Maya wasn't the first child to die this way, Admiral. She was just the first one whose father had the power to do something about it. Behind Elena, Claire could see Theron working at a complex control console. The enhanced soldier was making final preparations for whatever device he had built. Dr. Brightwood, Claire tried one more time. If you trigger that device, you'll be just as guilty as the people who killed Maya. You'll be murderers. Elena smiled sadly. We're already murderers, Admiral. We killed them the moment we decided that alien children were worth less than human profits. The transmission ended. Claire stared at the blank screen, knowing that she had failed to reach them. Admiral, Nicole reported. The energy buildup is reaching critical mass. Whatever they're going to do, it's happening now. Claire made the hardest decision of her career. All ships, open fire on the moon's surface. Target the energy sources. We have to stop them. The fleet unleashed everything they had. Hundreds of laser cannons and particle beams struck the moon's surface, turning ice into steam and rock into molten glass. But the enhanced soldiers' shields held, protecting their device from the bombardment. It's not working, Nicole reported. Their technology is too advanced. Our weapons can't penetrate their defenses. On the moon's surface, Theron Brightwood stood in the center of a circle of his fellow enhanced soldiers. Each of them was connected to the device network by cables that ran directly into their modified nervous systems. They were using their own bodies as living computers to control the moon's core. For Maya, Theron said quietly. For all the children who died because they weren't human enough to matter. He activated the device. But instead of triggering a massive explosion, something else happened. The unstable core stabilized, its chaotic energy patterns suddenly becoming organized and controlled. The dangerous radiation that had been leaking from the moon's center was contained and redirected. What's happening? Claire demanded. The energy readings are changing, Nicole reported in confusion. The core isn't collapsing, it's being converted into some kind of signal? Across the galaxy, every piece of human technology suddenly received the same transmission. Ships, space stations, planetary, communication networks, even personal devices. Everything connected to the galactic communication grid activated at once. The signal carried a complete record of Maya's death. Not just the official reports, but everything. The corporate communications that proved it was planned, The video recordings of her final days, the pictures she had drawn on the walls of her emergency shelter. Most importantly, it carried a list of every other non-human child who had died in similar circumstances. Hundreds of names, dates, and locations, a complete record of humanity's hidden genocide. He's not destroying the system, Claire realized. He's exposing it. The signal also carried something else: detailed plans for the enhanced soldier technology. The complete scientific data that had been classified for decades. Every alien species in the galaxy would now know how to create their own enhanced warriors. He's leveling the playing field, Nicole said in amazement. Humanity won't be the dominant military power anymore. On the moon's surface, Theron Brightwood collapsed as the device drained his life force. The other enhanced soldiers fell one by one, their bodies burning out from the massive energy transfer. Elena knelt beside her ex-husband as he died. "Did we do the right thing?" she asked. Theron looked at Maya's memorial wall one last time. "We made sure she mattered," he whispered. "We made sure everyone will remember her name." He died holding one of Maya's drawings, the picture of a star with a smiling face. 6 months later, Admiral Claire Santos stood before a congressional hearing on Earth. The politicians wanted someone to blame for the disaster that had reshaped galactic politics. "Admiral Santos," the committee chairman said, "could this tragedy have been prevented?" Claire looked at the politicians, most of whom had stock investments in mining companies and weapons manufacturers. "Who